where did the order that we seem to observe in the material world come from? What conditions the shells to behave consistently, throughout all space and time. Of course, maybe I don't know what's going to happen with time, but throughout all space, electrons always, act the same
Right.
way and all that stuff. Where does that come from?
Yeah, the laws of physics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Kabbalistically speaking, the laws of physics are explained by the four terrestrial elements as opposed to the four universal forces. They can be corresponded, though, and this explanation for both turns out to be essentially identical. So, the highest realm of the four Kabbalistic worlds, the largest sphere that encompasses everything else, is Isaiah. Then there's Yetzirah and Beriah, which in the Zohar and Kabbalistic literature kind of switch places. Then there's Isaiah, which is the realm, Isaiah, which is the realm of material reality in the center. So if you associate these with the terrestrial elements, Atziluth, the highest realm, is air. Yetzirah is fire. Beriah is water, and Isaiah is earth. But if you associate these same elements with their equivalents in modern science, you would have earth being equivalent to fusion, or the strong nuclear force, the strong nuclear force. Fire being equivalent to fission, the weak nuclear force. Air being equivalent to electromagnetism, and water being equivalent to gravity. So if we take that structure as being comparable, then the Kabbalistic description says that these four worlds were separated, that the four elements were separated in the very beginning of the creation of the cosmos, and that a simsum occurred that compressed and expanded between each of them, that caused them to blend together in a sense. But in astrophysics and theoretical astrophysics and theoretical cosmologies now, it was more like a seltzerized bubbling effect almost, where instead of there being specific layers of emanations from the Big Bang in the first Planck time following the Big Bang, there was Ylem, Ylem, which was the fifth element, or the combination of the other four forces. And then after that, the forces began to split apart in a kind of a bubbling effect. So like in one area, there would be a certain kind of law of physics that would contribute more towards being like fusion. And in another area, there would be a different sort of proto law of physics that would eventually evolve into what would be more like fission, and so forth. So that's why in the current local universe, we see filaments strung out like they look like neurons in the brain, or like cotton candy in a way. But then between them are these enormous empty spaces, these gaps. So in the earliest cosmos, things were strewn out. They were strung apart, and these large gaps began to exist in between them. Whereas in the Kabbalistic version of the description, it was more homogeneous, and dealt with the terrestrial elements as perhaps metaphors, or perhaps directly in place of the actual four forces of cosmology that we know through science today.